So if you've been following the AI search optimization space, you've probably seen the idea that if you just do good SEO, that you'll do well in the AI answers. And this is sometimes true, but it's not always the case. And I'm going to show you an example of this. So right now we're inside of Rankability and we're looking at a specific campaign. This is a one-page website that I built probably about 2 or 3 years ago. And it's been ranking for the keyword St. Louis SEO consultant for that entire time. It also ranks for St. Louis SEO company and all these related terms. But for this particular report, I'm just focused on the exact match keyword for this domain. And as you can tell, what we're looking at here is what we call the SPI, which is the Search Performance Index score, which is looking at every possible place that you're going to have coverage when it comes to search. Okay. And so in the case of local, the local pack gets way more weight. Okay, so I want to show you a couple things here. Number one, the local pack here, you can see we do have a Google business profile that we created recently for this specific test business. And this is once again just showing that when you have a keyword rich business name, it is incredibly effective. The fact that it's number 4 and it has no reviews really tells a lot about the situation. So this just shows you how powerful having a keyword rich business name. And in fact, it is actually a service area business. I'm not even showing the address on this, and it's still at number 4. So, and of course it's lower competition. If there was more competition, this probably wouldn't be the case. But once again, just a very important detail when you're trying to compete in the local pack, okay? And then we'll go up to the traditional search. And as you can tell, this website dominates traditional search across all the major search engines. And the reason is, there's a few reasons. Number one, a keyword-rich domain is incredibly effective in traditional search. And this website also has very strong backlinks going to it as well. Okay, so you need to have both of those. You can go really far by having that really keyword rich domain, but you need those third-party signals to really push it up. But not just push it up, actually keep it positioned well for the long term. And like I said, this has been ranking for years, despite all the algorithm updates and all the stuff that's happened. And it's a one-page website, only one page. Okay, so it shows you the power of having that keyword rich domain plus having the right backlinks hitting it. And then right below me is another keyword rich domain. This is from one of my friends here in St. Louis, Rob Timmerman. And you can see once again, we're just dominating across the board in traditional search. So that idea that if you do well in traditional search, you should do well theoretically in the AI answers, right? That's kind of the idea. Now, but when we look at this, that's not necessarily true, right? That's not necessarily true. So, when we look at this website here, it is doing well in Perplexity. It's doing well in Claude and Grok, but it's not doing well in Google products. And the main reason is because Google products for local queries that have commercial intent. So we're talking about, AI overviews, number one, and generally for based on all the, thousands and thousands of queries we've studied, we don't see AI overviews popping up very much for local queries that have commercial intent. And that's because the local pack really dominates there. So that, that isn't really relevant in this case, but the other ones that do matter is Google AI mode. And so what we found is when you look at AI mode in particular, what it is looking at is the local pack specifically. So it tends for commercial queries like this, St. Louis SEO consultant or best SEO company in St. Louis, it's going to show businesses that have the Google business profile listings. And it's typically going to recommend the businesses that are doing well in the local pack. So, and generally those are going to be the businesses that are located in that area, have the most reviews and all the powerful variables that you would see in the local pack. So it makes sense that this particular business wouldn't be doing well in Google products, and that's AI mode and Google Gemini, because when we look at this, you can see, yes, it's doing okay in the local pack, but it doesn't have any other good signals. It doesn't have any reviews. It doesn't have a lot going for it. So it doesn't really deserve to be recommended, right? It makes perfect sense. Now, ChatGPT is very similar in that way. ChatGPT isn't necessarily going to be using the Google business profiles because it doesn't have access really to that, but it's going to be looking at a lot of other third-party signals. And it's going to be looking at a lot of other directories outside of, obviously Google search results of the local pack. And so we can see here when we look at ChatGPT, we can see the businesses that are popping up here. Okay, so we can ask, why are these businesses popping up? Okay, that's a question we can ask. So you'll notice here that I don't include citations in this. And there's a reason, is because when we go over here and we go to the AI citations, you can actually see what are some of these core websites that are being used in retrieval. Okay, so we can see here that having a keyword-rich business name actually gives you great retrieval capabilities. Just because, we know that when retrieval is used in the AI platforms, that it tends to go to search. So you can see there's a direct correlation between the websites that are doing well in traditional search and then looking at how they perform as citations in the AI answers, right? Because retrieval is being used and we know it's going to search. So it's pretty obvious what's going on here, right? We see pretty much the same top 4 being used the most in retrieval in these AI platforms, and pretty much the same top 4 that are ranking in traditional search. It's very obvious. Those two things are pretty well linked together, but what's not linked well together is just doing well in traditional search, and even just being a cited source does not necessarily determine if you're going to be in that AI answer. This is where it gets interesting. Okay. And so what we've been finding is it is on a case by case basis as far as these platforms. With ChatGPT, it's unique. It's going to be looking at a lot of different things. It's going to look at, search, and it's going to crawl those results in search and try to, come to some sort of realistic recommendation. But it's also going to be looking at some of these platforms that are appearing more commonly. So like, for example, Clutch, we see here, we see Good Firms popping up in here. We see SEMrush popping up in here. We see Design Rush. Okay. These are all platforms that are being used very likely in this process of determining what brand should be recommended in that AI answer. So one thing you can do here is just click this AI citations little button here. And what this is going to do is it's going to go and scrape all of these citations. So every URL here is going to get scraped, and it's going to see if your brand that you ran in the scan is actually showing up on these pages. Okay, so as I would expect, this website is not covered very well across any of these citations. If you want your brand to be recommended more in the AI answers, then your brand needs to appear more in the primary sources of retrieval. Okay, so that's the point of this tab here, is to show like, okay, here are the pages that are being used most frequently in retrieval across most of these platforms. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the ones that are being used the most, and then we can focus our effort on those platforms. And so very simple thing you can do. But the main point here is, once again, doing well, even if you are cited, even if your domain is cited well across these platforms, even if you're doing incredibly well in traditional search, that does not guarantee you're going to get good coverage in the actual AI answer. Okay. It's a good start. You should absolutely do it. It's not like you should avoid doing that. It's still a good thing to do, but it's not the only thing that will influence AI answers. It's only one piece of that equation. You got to really start to attack, these other sources of retrieval. Hope that helps.